How do you fix a DLC release that has both poor reviews and poor sales? Well, the players have some ideas, and it's time we talk about them. And yes, we will go into the specifics of what you want to see added to each faction, because this DLC needs more change than just what's in the title. Quite often, video game companies simply move on and abandon projects, hoping that you'll forget any blunders in the build-up to their next release. But Total War Warhammer 3 doesn't have that luxury. DLC for the game has been announced through at least spring of 2024, with an expectation of support for much further beyond that. For context on why that's a problem, here's a bit of consumer theory for you. Video games are luxury entertainment items, and the development of post-release content support has brought in a social contract dynamic that expands on the simple trade of money for goods. We, the consumer, now purchase potentially incomplete games under the promise they will continue to get new content from the developer and grow them, assuming we will receive high-quality goods in the future that flesh out underdeveloped areas, and that any bugs or defects in the product will be fixed. The reaction to the Shadows of Change DLC is a response to the breaking of this unspoken covenant. Put simply, you felt it cost too much for too little, and people no longer trust the company to deliver a premium product to justify the premium price. So Total War has to fix this if it wants to keep selling DLC. More astounding than the shockingly low sales numbers for Shadows of Change, which are at Warhammer 1 levels by the way, is the consistency in response from you the players on what should have been offered within it. Each faction should include a legendary lord, a generic lord, a hero, and 4 or 5 units per faction, with at least one of those units being a large, show-stopping Tier 3 monster type. That I can say that list so succinctly is a testament to how ingrained that expectation is. In fact, here's a chart to show you what's missing. Now, am I suggesting that Total War should go back and add units to this DLC for free and make a serious token gesture of apology to the community? You're goddamn right I am. I'm going to let you all in on a secret. I'm not actually very good at predicting DLC, even though quite often I'm pretty close. What I am good at is research. I read countless Reddit and forum posts and every relevant army book from Games Workshop. Then, based on trends set by previous DLC, I price out what I feel is feasible based on community interest and sales potential, limited by the knowledge that this is all being made within a set development time and budget. I call them prediction videos, but really, they're community expectation videos. And when the company doesn't meet those standards, there will be problems. So to anyone at CA watching this, because yes, they do watch these, here's how to fix your premium problem. Here's what you all feel should be in Grand Cathay. Well, they need a hero option, and most people are asking that the crowmen become actual assassin heroes. Making them only low-tier flying scouts took an astounding level of creativity to make something so cool, so boring. And while a crowman assassin would be serviceable, I think changing one of Yun Bo's lesser-used matters of state mechanics to summon a single-use crow assassin to send out with a 100% kill chance would be more thematic, and also frees up the hero slot to be given to the frontline melee hero that Cathay has been missing since the game launched. The Gate Master. I mean, there's even concept art of it. Because if we don't get him here, it's going to be at least a year before we get any additional Cathay DLC. Add a ranged cavalry unit like the Peasant Horse Archers or Jade Crossbow Horsemen so that the yin and yang mechanics still works while you're riding around with cavalry, and you're now serviceable but not particularly exciting. Tzeentch is probably the easiest to fix for many of you, as they had so much in this DLC. Give the Zangors beaks. It's even in their in-game description, and I don't know, maybe give a second type of Zangors. It's so wild to have created this unit and done basically nothing with it. Tzeentch is also still missing solid melee heroes and lords, which should have been included in the Champions of Chaos DLC, but weren't for unknown reasons. So instead, let's reuse that Zangor unit and make a Zangor Shaman, a new hero that has a bound spell or two, because the new Winds of Magic system is already punishing enough with a multiple caster army. In Age of Sigmar, Shamans had a spell where when one enemy unit dies, they mutate and come back as Zangors, which is thematic, fun, and simple, and also unique. When it comes to Kislev, oof. I cannot begin to discuss how much I detest Mother Ostankia's starting position. I understand the desire to spread lords around the map, but requiring diplomatic relations or possession of a city back in Kislev should never have made it out of testing. The expectation here was for a Draika-style campaign, making Ostankia a sub-faction of Kislev so you don't wind up with the current weirdness of having patriarchs fighting alongside forest fiends from hell. To facilitate this, they'll need to add a Hag Mother Lord for sure to make the roster feel complete, and with that, the lore of hags. Yes, it's another lore of magic, but remixing existing lores and spells and slapping them in here felt cheap. If it's up to me, I'd say the most interesting spell names from the lore of hags are Witch's Curse, Whispers of Taint, Fortunes Told, and Summon Spirits, which could summon some of those new things in the woods. And finally, Form of the Ancient Widow, a transformation spell that turns a hag mother into a giant gray banshee with big claws and pointy teeth, letting CA reuse banshee or the new aspect of beast animations as they see fit. Because if you're gonna make a Slavic horror faction, lean into it. And for the love of Pete, give Ostankia her iconic chicken hut. Cut the legs off a Carnosaur, glue a peasant house on top of it, remove any of its crazier animations, and then stick Ostankaya on the top of the rocking chair to fling spells at any neighbor kids who step into her yard. The Akshina Ambushers are bizarrely named, as they're the Tsar's secret police force. Everyone expected CA to lean into the Ungol steppe tribes angle for Ostankia, and not having the Ungles here feels like CA is either out of touch with the community, or more likely, holding them back for yet another DLC. So, as fun as it is to grab a random cool-sounding name and then toss it on the front end of a description, rename the Akshina as Ungol Hunters and then add more Ungol units using existing assets and skins as they're already in the game. Ungol Brawlers could be a low-tier dual-wielding attack unit with low armor but high fightiness, while Ungol Horse Archers could be a tier higher of Horse Archer that leans into Kislev's hybrid ranged steppe feeling. There's a good argument that Kislev needs an additional unit because the flavoring is so specific to Baba Yaga here, but this at least gives other Kislev factions something on theme to play with. And that's a summary of what you all are looking for. And I say this specifically because this is a collection of all of your requests with over 13,000 votes and 300 comments on my channel alone. So, as a final message to CA, if you're looking to avoid this kerfuffle again in the future, spend more time on units everyone will use. When you say faction rework, make meaningful changes, and spend less time on cutesy, overcomplicated mechanics that are impossible to properly balance. If you insist on keeping DLC at $25, then remember the 1 Legendary Lord, 1 Hero, 4 units, and 1 Monster Mantra we spoke about earlier, and maybe also include 1 Legendary Hero for each faction as well. Personally, I think these mega DLC need to be broken into 3 pieces, with each faction given its own standalone focus. This lets people get a better idea of what's coming and focus expectations as well as any possible reworks, lessening the scope of things that you have to bring in and touch and then break in each DLC and patch. It would also mean shorter times between DLC, less sticker shock on price tags, and less crap snuck in as filler. Though I do wonder if part of the $25 bulk packaging style is the knowledge that people will pay $10 for the Changeling and a bunch of Tzeentch units, but not Yunbo and his broken drum animations. Oh, and give the players free Legendary Lords again. They're free campaigns that encourage players to go back in and interact and engage with your product for dozens of hours, versus Legendary Heroes, which are just another unit you might recruit. More people playing means more potential sales for future DLC. But clearly Total War's CEO knows something I don't because he greenlit Hyenas. Yes, Legendary Heroes are cheaper for the studio to produce, without mechanics and quests. I mean, they could blow everyone's minds and give both a Legendary Lord and a Legendary Hero for free, though that act of generosity might cause Horsham's Scrooge McDuck to die of a heart attack. And that's the hard truth on how I'd fix the Shadows of Change DLC. But what do you think? Is this enough? Does this make you more interested in this DLC? Because it does need fixing if Warhammer is to thrive. Every garden needs tending, so let's get back to regular watering, pull out the weeds, and enjoy a bountiful harvest together. because even a dying plant can be brought back with tending and time. Thanks for watching. And thank you to all the patrons who make this channel possible, and to all of you who left your opinions on how you would fix this. Your voice is important, and I'm glad to give it a platform.